Why is Mars the planet that attracts people's attention? Of course, this interest started very long ago. It can be said that since the time when mankind started to pay attention to celestial bodies. According to the history of astronomy, the Sumerians were interested in this planet 4,000 years ago, and its non-stationary nature was known by the ancient Egyptians 3,500 years ago. Then, about 500 years ago, Mars became visible through a telescope, and this possibility began to fill in the heads of information about Mars that preceded them. But no matter how much telescopes were improved, many questions remained open, many of which could not be answered until special robotic technologies were sent to Mars. Even before this time, many maps of the surface of Mars were drawn based on telescopes, but these maps were often erroneous. Some people, inspired by the data from this telescope, talked about the existence of life on Mars, and even began to weave fantastic stories about it. And these stories were exaggerated to such an extent that the fantastic stories of the Martian invasion of our planet began to flourish almost 150 years ago. Of course, the fantasy of intelligent extraterrestrial beings is not new. It's been a long time, and one of the biggest reasons people indulge in such fantasies is certainly Mars. Another reason people have been interested in Mars since ancient times is that it appears to be large, certainly after the Sun, Moon and Venus, almost the same apparent size as Jupiter. Because of this, it is possible to see its polar ice caps even with simpler telescopes, and naturally this situation leads to more and more ideas about the existence of life on Mars. Because our planet is also visible from space with polar ice caps, and this has led to the idea that Mars is a living planet. Unfortunately, space probes launched to Mars confirmed that Mars is a dead planet, conducted in Mars orbit and on the surface of Mars. However, even today there are fanciful views that there is life on Mars. Of course, Mars is the second most habitable planet in the solar system after our planet. Because of the nature of the Sun, a ring line called the line of life in the solar system is located between Earth and Mars. This line of life has an average thickness of 50 million kilometers, starting from the orbit of the Earth and ending at the orbit of Mars. The reason that the lifeline starts from the orbit of the Earth is that if the planet is located closer to the Sun than the Earth, the fate of Venus may fall on the planet. And the high temperature of the planet may destroy life and evaporate all the water in the oceans. In such extreme conditions, it is almost impossible for biological life to live. Totally impossible. The outer edge of the line of life ends after reaching the orbit of Mars. If a planet with life exists in an orbit more than 200 million kilometers from the Sun, it is very difficult to find liquid water on that planet, because the temperature of a planet that far from the Sun is very cold. As a result, all the water on the planet freezes, and as a result, there is no possibility for biological life to live. Even on a planet with active volcanoes in this case, it is very difficult to reach a warm temperature environment. Mars is the fourth planet in the solar system and is definitely one of the 4 metallic planets and the last of the 4 inner planets. Mars is the second smallest planet in the solar system, only Mercury is smaller than Mars. Another interesting aspect of Mars is that it is a red planet, and such colored planets are rare. The fact that Mars is red is because it has a lot of iron 3 oxide. Mars is an average distance of 230 million kilometers from the Sun and its orbital speed is 24 kilometers per second. The length of Mars' orbit is over 1,400,000,000, so it takes 687 Earth days for Mars to complete its orbit. The rotation of Mars around its axis is almost the same as that of our planet, in other words 24 hours and 39 minutes. Yes, it's a striking similarity, because the days of the other two, Venus and Mercury, are very long. And the fact that the Martian day is the same as the Earth's day is one of the reasons for the idea that life exists on Mars. Planetary rotation is responsible for temperature moderation if the rotation is the same as our planet's, but if the rotation is too slow, the day side gets too hot and the dark side gets too cold. An example of this is Mercury or the Moon. Therefore, the climate of Mars is similar to the temperature of Earth, but slightly colder. For example, the highest temperature on Mars is 35 degrees centigrade and the record of our planet is 56 degrees centigrade. The coldest temperature on our planet is -92 degrees centigrade and on Mars the coldest temperature is -110 degrees centigrade, possibly even colder. Another reason for the similarity in climate is the ecliptic deviation. The angle of the ecliptic deviation of Mars is 25 degrees, compared to 23.5 degrees on Earth. This is why Mars has seasons, just like our planet. But this analogy is not only in terms of temperature, precipitation and other vital necessities. Mars is not so lucky in terms of atmosphere. Mars has a very weak atmosphere. The air density of the place with the densest atmosphere on its surface is equal to the air pressure 35 kilometers above the sea level of the planet, that is. The atmosphere of Mars is only 0.6% of the density of the atmosphere of the planet. The composition of the atmosphere is also very different from that of Earth. Most of the atmosphere of our planet is nitrogen. Most of the atmosphere of Mars has 95.32% carbon dioxide. The rest is nitrogen, argon, oxygen, carbon monoxide, water vapor, nitrogen oxide, neon, krypton, xenon, ozone, and consists of methane. The composition of the atmosphere is very different, and water vapor and oxygen are the main components of the existence of life. The atmosphere of Mars is very unique. If we compare, the oxygen content of the Martian atmosphere is 0.14%, and the oxygen content of our planet's atmosphere is 20.5%. The percentage of water vapor in the Martian atmosphere is only 0.03%, and the humidity on our planet is much higher. Even the humidity of the deserts of our planet is much higher than the humidity of the Martian atmosphere. However, this uneven atmospheric composition is not the only problem that prevents life on Mars, and there are countless other inconveniences on this planet. Nevertheless, Mars remains the host of the most favorable extraterrestrial environment in the solar system, and yet there are many interesting things to see on Mars, and yet Mars hides many mysteries from us.